welcome to another episode of Train Lee Installations. For this, I am going to be reviewing a LGB 2015. This is an early version of the locomotive and came with both motor blocks were split or clamshell style motor blocks. I installed the decoder in the tender rather than in the locomotive, along with the speaker. The advantage is you can run the tender all by itself. The disadvantage is you have to run the locomotive connected to the tender. As part of the installation, I also used or created a special interconnect cable between the locomotive and the tender that you can just, only plugs in one direction. And in order to be able to run them both, you'll have to do that. Once you've got that all set up, and this is the transitional plate between the locomotive and the tender. So we'll go ahead and reconnect it. Oops, drop the transitional plate. Reconnect everything. And the transitional plate, you can just sort of sits in there. Yeah, I'll put it in later. And then the cable you can just sort of tuck away, hidden in there. Now what I mean by clamshell or split motor blocks, there's a couple of them. I upgraded the tender's motor block, but not the locomotive motor block. I did modify the locomotive motor block in order for it to become DCC ready. I couldn't upgrade it because it just, with the way the shoes work and connect, they wouldn't fit into the plastic housing for the locomotive. So this is what's referenced as a clamshell or split motor block. Normally the wheels are screwed onto axles that go through. You have to remove the wheels, and then the brushes will just kind of pop out when you remove the wheels, the brushes out of these little spots. Once you remove the wheels, you can remove these screws that would be normally there, and then the motor block comes apart in half, kind of like a clamshell, or it's considered split. And then you have to put it all when you set it up, you have to make sure the wheels are going to be aligned correctly, meaning they will all face the correct direction. Okay, the other style motor block, or the more contemporary style motor block, and most of these you can interchange freely, is what we just referenced as a B-style gearbox. This is a very common gearbox used in a lot of LGB locomotives. The top comes off, that would allow you to access to the motor, and then the bottom comes off, which allows you to access the electrical contacts, the brushes, and the gears for the main drive axles. The wheels on these are not generally screwed on. There are a few exceptions. When they started transitioning to this style of gearbox, they still used a lot of the screw-on wheels. So again, these are usually interchangeable. The tender uses a modern style gearbox, whilst the loco uses the original style gearbox. It was modified again to accommodate 4 wires, aka your power pickups and the motors. So to start with, F8 turns on the sound as normal, and you can hear the boiling sound. F0 turns on the headlights. And when it turns on the headlights, it turns on the generator as well. Let's back it up a little bit. I like the sound a little louder. So I'm going to F9 increases the volume. You should be able to hear it starting to get louder. There we go. And then F1 is the bell. F2 is the basic whistle. And this whistle will play as long as the button is depressed or locked down. F3 is the cylinder valves. This opens up the valves to drain the water out of the cylinders. And then you have F4, which I have set up as the shunting key. And what this does is it lowers the top speed of the locomotive and also disables the momentum movements. Additionally, when I have it in shunting mode, I turn on, if the headlights are on, I turn on both the rear light and the headlight of the locomotive. Let's see, F5 turns off the automatic brake squeal. So I don't know if it'll do it. So that's off. Let's see if it'll play the brakes. And sometimes it does and doesn't. It's all based off of speed and things like that. F6 turns on the smoke generator. And it should start producing. So there it goes. Takes it a few seconds sometimes. It is just an on-off feature. Then F7 turns on the cornering squeal. That only plays with movement, as if the flanges were rubbing against the tracks and so on. F8 turns on and off the sounds. F9 increases the volume. F10 decreases the volume. And then you have F11, which is the conductor whistle. And then you have F12, which is an announcement with the conductor whistle. And then you have an American all aboard. All aboard. Then we have the injector, air pump, and F16 now is the coal shoveling. And then you have a coupling sound. Those are all the basic features on this locomotive. And you notice both motors using a single decoder. Both motors are perfectly synced between the front and the rear. Basically, it acts as a single locomotive. So both motors are perfectly synced, and there is no problems with it. Again, this is an early version of the 2015. It was considered or identified as a 2015D, and it's used originally the split motor block in both the front, in the tender and the locomotive. I did upgrade it in the tender for a few different reasons. I really wasn't able to upgrade it in the main locomotive, so I just did some modifications to make it work. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have one of your consider having one of your locomotives upgraded by us.